I'm sure you and Lance are going to have plenty to talk about on your next episode here because Tage Thompson signs 7 years, $50 million.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't say I was surprised, but it was a very mixed bag of reactions on social media immediately after. It's pretty obvious how you would feel about either way. If you're for the signing, you're like, listen, Kevin Adams wants to keep this core together. And he broke out last year. They've spent a lot of time, a lot of resources developing this guy. That all came to fruition last year. 38 goals, probably the best player on the team. One of the better players in the league, scoring goals and stuff last year, and he still could be ascending. So let's lock him up now. If you wait a year or two and he does it again, it's going to cost you more money.
Yep.
So let's get our guys locked up. The other end, Jeff Skinner 2.0. Oh, that was annoying to listen to over and over again. All the critics, Tage Thompson's had one good year. Now we're just stuck with him for 7 years and $50 million. Bad contract. Here's what I want to do. I want to play a clip from Andrew Peters, former Sabres Andrew Peters, on his After the Whistle podcast that he does with Craig Rivet. Hold on, before I get to it, I got to make sure I do this right here. All right, before I play this clip, I'll say this again. He did not like the signing. All right, so I'm going to play this clip. You haven't heard this. Most people probably have not heard this either. So let me play this, and I'm going to get your reaction to Andrew Peters and your thoughts on the signing as well. So let me play this clip.
I don't know why the Sabres would make this signing right now. There's no rush on this guy. There's no rush on him.
There is a rush on him.
He's not a UFA next year. Okay. So there's no rush to sign him.
What happens if Tage Thompson goes and scores 40 goals next year and has 75 points? When he goes to arbitration,
I don't think he's going to do that. So me being the team, I'm going to bet against that and say, go prove it. And if you do get there, well, guess what? We have got quite the player. And you know what? We weren't really looking into spending that kind of money on you, Tage, but now we got to spend a little bit more. But it's going to be worth it to know that the proof is in the pudding versus, a one good season. Don't tell him he's had more than one good year.
All right, there it is. Andrew Peters, pretty poignant comments. I don't know. What do you make of that? What do you think?
Woo, boy, that's we needed the fire trucks to go by for Andrew.
that was a hot take alert right there.
I could not disagree more with what he says there. The saying, what's he proven? Okay, fair. Like that's the one point that he makes is fair. What's he proven? Okay, he's got one good year. That's true. But he's got one good year in a system with a team with a coach that is still the system and the coach and the team. And whatever issues that he had in the previous seasons under the many coaches that he played for, they're not there anymore. Like the hitches in the game, the big winding shot is gone. He's a quick shooter. He's good. They've leaned into all of his strengths as opposed to just, seeing big guy play big guy hockey. Like they got a coach that figured out like, well, he's a big guy that can do smaller guy things. And that's dangerous too. So, but like the whole thing, like, well, he's not even UFA next year. What are they paying him like that for now? Like, well, let's look back into the distant past of Sam Reinhart.
I knew you were going to say that. Thank you.
Scoring tons of points and then dicking around and dragging him around and being like, okay, well, here's a 1-year deal. Here's another 1-year deal. And then you walk him up to the point where he can become a UFA. And then you're like, you want to stay here long-term now? Like, do you want to do that? And he's like laughing at you as he walks out the door and says, no, we had our chance to do that 2-3 years ago. So, no, like we're not doing that now. Because that's what happens in this case. Because if you get to a spot where you're like, well, we don't want to, make the commitment yet. So we need to see how you're going to turn out. So, if you could just, be okay with that, that's fine. All right, man, cool. But I'm just going to load up on goals and points and show you what's what. You're not going to like that. So yeah, you don't want to turn it into a Reinhardt thing. because that's exactly what could end up happening. You don't want it to turn into a thing where you have to pay him more. Like Andrew says, like, well, if he makes you pay more, no big deal. Like, spending money has been a very big deal for Buffalo with everything that they've done the last 3-4 years. They don't want to spend a lot of money. They don't like spending tons of money. Like, they just don't want to do any of that. So the fact that you're thinking that the way that they're going to operate is to say, well, if we got to pay him $10 million a year after this season, well, them's the breaks. That's what we did. It's no. If you believe in the player, and they very clearly do, you say, we're going to sign you long-term now to this because because this is what we want to do. We think, you're worth it. Let's do it this way. Yeah, you do that. And if you're Tage, you're saying yes to that too, because, it's a great offer. Like, it takes care of everything for you. Tage and his they just had a baby. So, like, he's got that to think about. And so now he gets the, the solidification of, having 7 more years after this one. Great. Perfect. He's $7 million a year, even better. Like, he's set. Like, he's set. He's good. So I don't know. Like, if you want to do like a, like an Aaron Judge type thing or a PK Subban thing from back in the day where you're like, well, we're only going to offer you 1 year. It's like, okay, man, but I'm going to make you pay for doing that. The team doesn't want to be in that spot. And, listen, if Tage is going to do that, he'll do it. Like, it's where it's at right now because he's in the right situation. So I don't know. It's very foolish to think that long playing something like this is the way to go, because you give a guy more opportunities to dominate and to show you that, yeah, this is for real. You're going to end up hurting yourself way more. Like, people are mad about $7 million. Okay. Well, what if he ends up the number 2 center? Okay. Well, who's the number 1 center? Because that person's going to be pretty damn good. And if you're paying the number 1 center, I mean, you have to assume it's somebody younger that'll happen to. You're probably paying them less for now, but okay, cool. Like, then you've got 2 great weapons up the middle. Like, that's how that works. It's not like you're saying, oh, well, he's going to be a 4th line center making 7. No, that's not the case. But to think that, like, this is wrong for the reasons that Andrew was speaking about is not correct.